Hello and welcome to Board Game Opinions. I'm Mark Windle.
I'm Sarah Hillier.
And in this episode we're taking an in-depth look at Terraforming Mars. Now we don't normally cover the rules explanation bit, but just to give you the idea, you're going to be taking a hand of cards every round and then you have to purchase them and then you use them throughout the game, because that sort of explains what we're now going to talk about. So, I mean, there are a range of actions in this game, the ones from on your cards to the ones that are all available on board. I have to put it, do you like the actions that are available? Do you like the variety and stuff? What do you think for them?
I think that there is a variety because obviously you do have so many different cards. I mean, you've got this huge stack of cards.
Yeah, a few hundred there.
Yeah, exactly. So you do have quite a lot of variety in relation to what you can do. Some of them do become quite similar once you've played it a little bit.
Bit Q pushy.
Yeah.
Move some resource up one by spending something else, that sort of thing. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, you know, and then the people will end up knowing that I'm not a very big one for Euro games.
Yeah.
So I've played this a couple of times, and yes, there is a bit of variety in there, but I think now it's becoming a bit samey for me.
As you've seen through more and more of the cards, you kind of... So I guess my question is, do the cards link in with the theme? Because I think some of them do. I mean, stuff like, which is really cool, like drop an asteroid on the planet to increase the temperature, which is actually real science. That's one of the ways they've considered doing it. But yeah, I mean, that is essentially spend some money to increase your heat production by 2.
I mean, the theme is very good for a Euro game. It's gone with it. It's really like pushing it.
Yeah.
Because it is about colonising Mars, basically. So, and that's what you do. You put in cities down, you put in trees down to get your oxygen level up. You're increasing temperatures and everything. So yes, I think the theme of it is very good and it's very well executed. Yeah,
I mean, one important thing, they have used some partially correct science about like that to required to survive life to survive on Mars. If as long as it's 8 degrees on average, that is enough, and 14% oxygen in the air, that is all true. And there's little things that link all the way across with the card. I mean, they have the card. Every card has its own name. There's no repeats on the cards in the deck, and that's a lot of different cards. I mean, for instance, this one is underground detonation. So I'm spending money to explode stuff underground. It's got a nice picture of detonation underground, obviously, and so they have definitely tried to link those things across. I don't think that they've just ignored it completely. I mean, the main thing of this, it is an engine building game.
Yes.
Do you feel as the game progresses you're building an engine? Does it succeed?
Definitely. It definitely does succeed in that. It's got the typical feeling of at the beginning you're struggling and you kind of don't know which way you need to turn on it. You need money, but you can't get enough. You need to produce all these different things like your energy and your leaves and for your oxygen and everything. And you just can't quite get enough. But then you start to get quite a lot of money coming through. So you can pay for more cards and you can bring out more cards. So I would say for the first maybe 3-4 rounds, it's a bit slow.
It's very tight at start.
Yes, because you can't do exactly what you want. But then going forward, it then does speed up until you get towards the end of the game where you're just like, well, what can I actually do to maximise the amount of points that you've got? Because you've got an engine running.
Yes.
And you keep looking over at your other opponent's cards, finding out, right, what have they actually got? What can I do that will screw them over, basically? Like on the game that we've just finished, Mark kept eating all of my livestock. So
my bears or whatever.
Yeah. That ended up, I ended up losing by a point on that one. And if he hadn't kept eating my livestock, I probably would have beaten him.
I think that says a lot about the 2-player game and versus maybe the 3 to let's say out 4, and then it goes up to 5, I believe. In this, the engine, certainly the 2-player, in a lot of engine building games, you just feel like you've just started your engine and then the game ends.
Yes.
Well, certainly it's 2, I think where I've played it's 3 as well, it kind of felt like I had time at the end while my engine was ticking over to do even more and add more bits onto my engine so that I could branch out. And like I said, like Sarah said, I started taking on bears so that I could eat her other animals, or you had other small animals that could eat your like greenery and stuff. So that, I mean, there is time to not just do the raw point scoring actions, that you can also have time to build your engine to affect the other player, at least in some way. I mean, how do you find with obviously the card drawing, this is very, very, do you find that can be a bit swingy sometimes, or how do you find it?
I do like it that there's the restriction on that you get 4 cards every turn and you have to then choose from them, and it costs you 3 to buy a card. So I do like the way that you do get that. As with anything on card drawing games, it depends what cards are drawn, what cards that you might have been dealt out, with how it might be. Some of the cards that I was getting
just no use
to me whatsoever. So there was a couple of rounds that I didn't even buy any games, but then any cards even.
You always can buy more games.
Exactly. But that meant that I could hoard money, and then I could then use the actions that you have on this side of the board to put down a lot more water tiles to then bring the game closer to the end. So yeah, I mean, even if you're not buying cards, there's still other things that you can do. Yeah,
I mean, there's also all the general actions that are literally pay money to do it. So pay money to put down some trees, which then increase the oxygen, increase your points. There's lots of, it's not just all in the cards, but you want cards that definitely link with your strategy. Yes. I mean, I've always wished that time. The problem, I think the game length works at the length that it is. There is a drafting version, the back of the rules, where so we both get the 4 cards each, and then we take one pass and keep going round, which I actually think would work better, because I think you'd be able to mitigate some of the luck and like specialise more. But on the other hand, you've then got a drafting phase, and if you're talking about picking cards even maybe like 20 times throughout the game or something like that, that's just going to slow down the game too much. But as an idea, I think that would work well.
Yeah.
Shame they couldn't have shortened the game length to allow that. Maybe if the resource production was quicker, so you would move through the game quicker, that you could also have the drafting in between.
Yeah, it's like with you think the game length is quite...
I think it's all right, yeah.
Right. But for me, I think it goes on a little bit too long.
I think in 2 players, it's supposed to be a slightly longer than 4 players, oddly.
Yeah.
Just the way it works. Do you feel like between the times you played it that you've had variation in your strategies? Do you feel like you've been able to do different things?
There has been different things, but it's still been sort of the same sort of thing. The only thing that has really changed it is where you, at the beginning of the game, you get dealt out these different corporation cards. So it's in relation to how you then start the game, and then it starts to channel you in which way to go down. So I had one that building cities would then give me money, and then I'd go on like that. So instead of me then focusing on plant production or anything, I mean, I didn't even touch the ones up here.
Like metal and stuff, etc.
Yeah. I then kept going to get more and more money through, so that I could then just basically buy whatever I wanted.
Yeah. So there is some variation.
Yeah, there is variation.
And obviously the look of the card draw can often set your strategy. I mean, overall, would you say you feel like you are terraforming Mars? Does it come together enough to...
I would say so, because you are increasing temperature, you're increasing your oxygen, you're putting more water down, you're planting trees, you're colonising, you're putting like your own cities down as well. So yes, I would say that you are actually terraforming Mars.
So unlike some Euros, this does at least, the theme, the cards, the names of the cards, their actions you're taking, I agree, do... At least they're a good representation as far as a board game can do. The theme isn't completely detached from the game. You do think, I am doing this action. Yeah. And if you read the cards and think about what you're doing, they do generally make sense with regards to it. I mean, talking the cards, what's your thought on the component quality and like artwork, etc., and all that sort of stuff?
The artwork, it's kept it very sciencey.
Yes.
So, for instance, I had a card here of a CEO's favourite project. And the guy's in a white coat, so yes, it's very much so. And there's all like different things like it. So rover construction. So we all know that obviously rovers have been sent out. Space rovers have all been sent out. So yes, the artwork really does go with it, and it's kept it It keeps the theme together.
It works with the cards and their name again.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
It's a bit bizarre in places, I guess, because it has to be. It's like some of the artwork is obviously is physical drawing sort of style. Another, it's like your guy on that is a real person. I've seen a real photo, so it's not quite as consistent as you'd hope it to be.
There was a card I had as well. I've put it back in the deck, but it was a boardroom sort of picture, and it was quite funny because they'd done the same guy of every single one around there. So that was actually quite funny. I did quite like that.
The cubes are quite cool, having metallic cubes.
Yeah,
I think it's not the cheapest game in the world to me. I think the game feels like its value. I'm not sure the components. The cards are a little bit thin, and the cube. I mean, it's a lot of cardboard. It's not lots of chunky wooden components and stuff. These are obviously plastic cubes, despite being a big gold shiny thing.
It's some of these smaller ones. You'll find that on the corners they've chipped a bit, and it's just a bit like, oh.
But then, how often do you see shiny metallic cubes?
Very true. Yeah, very true.
How do you find regards to like how the interaction within the game? Think about because you were talking earlier about obviously my bears are eating your things. Do you find the interaction in the game good?
For a Euro game, yes, because you do get to focus on what you want to do, but then you do have that bit of interaction in between. I mean, there are certain things like with the different awards that you have at the bottom. It's like it depends on how many like little science symbols you have and things like that. So you need to keep an eye on what the other player is doing. So yes, there is interaction, more so than some other Euro games that we have played. But I think it's probably quite a good amount, like a right amount.
I do find occasionally in this that the interactions maybe a little bit take that, as in like it, and not the only person thing that a lot of it's attacking. There is competition for space on the board and for for these ways of scoring, which are awards and milestones, which are essentially a race to get there. But you do with the actual card, they're all like I said, I eat one of your things, or there are ways generally I hurt your production to do my. And I can see that some people would find that maybe a bit too aggressive. I mean, I guess you could remove those from the deck if you don't like that sort of style play. I don't mind as long as it's not too harsh, but I think you could repeatedly drop on the same person and say to take another game, which isn't really fun for people. So. I mean, for me, I should say, because you've only played this too, and I've played it at multi-levels, like a number of people, I do find that generally the 2, 3, 4 player games, they all feel roughly the same. Like I said, you've got more time with an engine in a 2-player game to tune it, and less time in a 4, but there is not like some weird disconnect between the 2 and the 4-player game. I think it handles a range of numbers equally as well. So, with all that said, what other positives or negatives do you have towards the game? What's your other overriding thoughts?
My overriding thought, and don't shoot me for this, is I'm not keen.
Yeah.
It has to be a very good Euro game to get me to like it and to get into it. Given that, I have played this twice, maybe 3 times.
Yeah, at least 3 times, I think.
So I have obviously given it a go, but there are other better Euro games out there that I would prefer to pick up in relation to this one. Saying that the theme is good on it, they've kept that in, they've been able to do that very, very well. But it just doesn't grab me as much as what I would have hoped it would have done.
I think I like it more than you, but I sort of agree. I like the engine building is fun. I like the theme. I like the terraforming thing. I think they've done it all really well together. It just concerns me a little. I feel at times where I'm just waiting for my go so that I can play some more cubes on my engine cards, and I don't like why I don't mind like games with little interaction, it always kind of feels towards the end a little bit heads down. I'm just waiting for my turn to come up because I don't really care what you're doing, and unless you're going to do something very direct to me, it's not going to affect it. Also, I think once you've played, so when you play it through a few times, you do kind of see the cards, even with the larger the deck are, they are just essentially the same way to move up your resource production, which I know a million ways like that, but because you're so just, I'm looking at my cards, I buy some cards, I put out my cards, it can maybe, there isn't quite as much variation I'd like. It's fun, the few times, but I'm not sure it's got the lastability, because I think there are particular ways that are better to score than others, and so I don't think you can massively change what you do every time. Also, it's a strange one, but I think your first game you are going to struggle because you have to understand how the decks works and what the sort of things are going to come through on. So I think it's certainly a game you have to give at least one try, because until you've seen a whole game, I just don't think you'll understand how the cost system works. What is the value of 10 resources? It's not until you've had the experience of knowing what it is to whether this is a good card or not to you. Would we consider the expansions that are being announced?
For me,
yeah,
no.
I'm going to see what they are and then see if they change up the game enough to make them worth getting. But I'm on the fence at the moment. I enjoy the game. The more I play it, the more it's growing thinner for me. The more like lukewarm I get on it. It was great the first few times, but it hasn't had the lastability to go with that, I don't think. So, with that in mind, what would be your rating?
I would give this about a 2.5 to a 3.
Well,
I don't enjoy this anymore.
Okay, I think I gave it back when we first did it about somewhere around 7.5. I'd have to recheck back the old video. I think I'm sitting somewhere around 6 at the moment. I think after playing it as many times as I have, which I've probably played it about 7 times now, it doesn't make me want to play it anymore. So unless the expansion's mixing up, I don't think I'd be holding on to it. But anyway, so I've been Mark Windle.
I've been Sarah Hillier.
And we've been doing an in-depth review for Board Game Opinions. Goodbye.
Bye.